Welcome back, guys. So I realized I've never talked about the Hyperkin RetroN 5 on my channel before, and I know this device is still used by quite a few people out there, and it's going on nearly 6 years since this was originally released. I had one day one. It was kind of during one of those periods where I talked about before, where I'd gotten rid of games, had to rebuy stuff eventually, and at one point I was like, holy crap, the RetroN 5 is coming out. Like, you could play all these systems on it. Sign me up, right? So I wanted to talk about some of the pros and cons of this device, some of the changes over the years, because the system we're looking at right here was released in 2019 or manufactured in 2019. They continue to make these things. Now, there's been some controversy in the past that has been discussed. I highly doubt they ever rectified any of this stuff because it seems like they were very silent about it, but it does have non-commercial licensed emulators on the system. But we're going to set that aside because it seems like a lot of people either don't care, or if they do care, they wouldn't be interested in a system like this anyway. But I did have to mention that. That's a controversy that's been going on for a while, and I'm pretty damn sure it's still the same thing to this day on the device. Now, over the years, they've changed a few things. One of the main things is that I remember the original system had 1 gigabyte of internal storage. The internal storage used for like screenshots, save states, different things like that, right? Now the systems that are released, I'm not sure when they made this change, has 3 gigabytes of internal storage. So that's a nice thing. When this originally came out, it was like over 150 bucks. Now you can find them brand new for around the $120 price point. But I already know what a lot of people are saying. There's tons of different options out there. What this system can do, for the most part, mind you, we can already do on other emulators, on Raspberry Pi, on the PlayStation Classic. There is a shit ton of options out there. Why would somebody be interested in this today? And am I interested in using this today? So that's what I kind of wanted to talk about, kind of go over a few things. So there's some interesting things you can do here. It does play like Famicom cartridges, NES cartridges, Super Nintendo, Super Famicom, Sega Genesis, your Game Boys, your Game Boy Color games, Game Boy Advance. Hit and miss though. This bitch does not play this game very well. It actually crashes on this game quite a bit. Plays fine on every other device that I have. But that was one of the appeals here with this system, is that it uses original cartridges and it's an all-in-one system. There's other options that are similar, like the Retro Freak and the soon-to-be supposed released Polymega. That's cost a shit ton of money to do very similar stuff. But that's kind of beside the point. Would somebody still be interested in using this today? And I think, yeah, there's still a market for it if you're into using original cartridges. But for the most part, I think a lot of people who are into original cartridges have original consoles or other higher end clone consoles that aren't emulating the systems. But this does have some cool little features. Like, for example, if we play this Kid Dracula Famicom cartridge, it's in Japanese. Granted, there's not a lot of freaking text in this game. But if we jump into it, it's in Japanese. Some of the text is going to be in Japanese. The menu options are going to be in Japanese. Like when you first load this game, as you see, title screens in Japanese, right? And then the options here, it's like game start or password. So like new game or put in a password. If you didn't know Japanese, you wouldn't know, what the hell that says. You'd have to translate it. Now, the one cool thing with this is you can load patches. So I think a lot of people really enjoy using this device for that purpose. Let's go ahead and go into the menu for that. Select patch. I have the English patch for the game there. We're going to go ahead and go back. Yeah, whatever. And then like reload the game. And now the game is going to be in English, right? So this comes in handy for stuff like, hey, Mother 2. If you wanted to get this game loose for 10, 15 bucks, or Chrono Trigger, stuff like that. If you wanted to get the Japanese releases of these games and not have to worry about doing things like what I talked about with Mother 2 the other day, where we actually converted this to Earthbound, which costs money and takes some expertise there, you could use this device to play these games that way. The other benefit is, save transfers. You could back up your saves for these games. The earlier models of this, the earlier firmware more specifically, because really when you want to talk about revisions on this thing, the main difference besides the memory is that they did revise the cartridge slots, the pins a little bit. because originally the pins on this device were a son of a bitch. They had a death grip on them, and I do remember that. I would just, pick up a cart and just pull the system up and then fight with it to get them out. And they actually made videos like, oh, this is how you do it. And you had to like hold it at an angle and pull it out like that. Kind of ridiculous. Now it's not as bad, I noticed. Over the years, Hyperkin's gotten better with their pin perfect technology. I don't think they're using those pins in this. Maybe they are, but I haven't really had an issue with removing cartridges from this system. But as you see, Kid Dracula, this bitch is in English now. So that's definitely a cool thing. Those little minor changes there. That's one of the biggest things here is loading patches for games, playing them in English if you're a cartridge collector. If you just want to jump on a game and just have one system hooked up and kind of conserve your actual systems, that could be a benefit here. If you're a streamer, if you just want to record footage, this is an easy way to do it. Because when this first came out, I think that was one of the biggest appeals. I wasn't a YouTuber. I wasn't a content creator at that time. For me, it was just the convenience. I could play all these games, and nobody was really talking about emulation devices at that time. Not to my recollection anyway. I'm sure there probably was, but it wasn't as widespread as it is now. So this thing seemed like a dream at the time, but it was just plagued with so many problems. Comes with this shitty ass controller. I'm using it right now. It's kind of, oh my God, like they really should have scrapped this. This should have been revised, and they re-released the system a long time ago. This is a piece of junk. It feels like something you would get in a Happy Meal. That's how ridiculous. But I find it funny. Like, I don't know if you could hear. Hyperkin clicky sticks weren't hard to make, apparently, but it still sucks balls. Big fat sweaty donkey balls. The buttons feel like shit. This thing is just a nasty controller. You definitely want to use some other controllers. It does have ports for Super Nintendo, NES, and Sega Genesis. You can use like the 8BitDo retro receivers. I've tested it that way. It works just fine. Anything to get away from this crap. But yeah, at that time, it was more about convenience for a lot of people. The ease of use, HDMI wasn't as widespread with retro consoles. Now we have a lot more options, but they're costly options. If you're getting back into retro gaming, or you have a nice little collection, it's kind of hard to not like recommend something like this if you want to play your games on one system. But you just have to remember, there's going to be inaccuracies because it's emulation. It's not going to be perfect by any means. It's like when you really look at it, if you want perfect, if you want excellence, you're going to get an original console. If you want to get it hooked up on through HDMI to your modern TV, you're either going to have to get a mod, you're going to have to get like a RetroTink 2X, a FrameMeister, that kind of thing, an OSSC. That's a costly endeavor, or just buy newer clone systems that are FPGA based, like the stuff from Analog. That is an option, but those systems are expensive as well. This has gone down in price. When it originally came out, I remember it being around like 150, 160 bucks. Some places were selling it for more. Now you can find them for around the $100 to $120 price point. Still a little pricey, but for what it does, it's a neat device. Not perfect by any means. Can be a little iffy sometimes too with cartridges, but I don't seem to have too many issues just with Game Boy Advance. Like some of these games just don't load properly. Doesn't work with most repros, multi-carts, doesn't work with EverDrives or anything like that. But the interesting thing that I learned about this device, and I knew there were some tricks to it back in the day, people started figuring things out. There's custom firmware where you can just turn this into essentially a Raspberry Pi. To me, that's rather pointless. I can do that on anything. I could load RetroArch on anything. Doesn't matter to me. RetroArch, RetroArch. I don't want to get into the debate, so don't start with me. Damn it. But I don't really care for that kind of stuff. But with this device, you could do that if you wanted to. There's another simpler way where you don't have to load anything. So you're playing some Michael Jackson up in this bish. And if you have like the converter to, for Sega Genesis to play Master System games, you could pop these in there. I don't have one, so I can't do it. And the one that comes with the Analog Mega SG does not fit in the cartridge slot to try to use it that way. But let me showcase one thing you can do with this damn thing. You do have to have a cartridge in to do what I'm about to show you, but we could like load games, for example. Let's. Oh, I struggled with that one a little bit. Damn. Let's put that back in there. Get our Kid Dracula in there. Now, if we go back to the menu, I do have an SD card popped in the back. All right. The one thing we can do is select a patch. So I find it interesting. Right now, I just have NES and Super Nintendo patches on here, but I've converted ROMs, original game ROMs, to IPS patches. And what that is going to do is, since we could patch this game and make it play in English, we could patch the game, which is not really patching the game, it's just patching the information that's dumped to the system, because that's all it's doing is dumping the ROM information and loading it up. We could dump this game, patch it with another game, and play that game instead. Kind of weird, right? But let me showcase that. You do have to use a converter to convert the original ROMs to IPS patches. It's a very simple damn process. Takes a few minutes to just patch every single game for the system. But let's find one. There we go. We're gonna select that patch. We're gonna go back out. Yeah, flip that shit, and then play. Patch loaded. Hey, we got Super Mario Bros. Up in the house, right? What's the point of this? You could do this on anything. I mean, not with a cartridge necessarily, but it is an interesting feature. I kind of just want to get to the point. Will I be using this device for anything? Probably not. I mean, maybe I'll plug it into my kids' room, because they do hit me up a lot of times like, hey, bro. Yeah, my kids call me bro every once in a while. No, they don't. Maybe they do. I'm lying. But, they will want to play some of my retro games sometimes. And most of my systems are modded and can be a little sensitive. I don't want to be throwing them around, letting my kids tug at that stuff. And, instead of taking my high-def top loader Famicom and putting it in their room, I could put this in their room or plug it into the living room type of thing. So here you guys go, play some Sonic the Hedgehog, some Super Mario Bros., that kind of thing, and just have a blast, right? They won't know the difference. And I know some people will be like, how dare you? Your kids should not play these games on the RetroN 5. It should be on the original hardware. Hey, man, I'm about options, and I do think this device remains to be neat, other than this booty-ass controller that they have never fixed, never changed. It really sucks, man. I don't know. That's kind of weird. Like in the back, it looks like there's like a mold where there was supposed to be a battery here. I don't remember if it originally was like that. Kind of strange, but it's an interesting device. Still has some uses to today. I think the biggest one is going to be buying, like if you're into actual cartridges and you want to get some cheaper games. One of the options there, man, I'm forgetting, because the buttons on this thing, I don't know what the hell any of this stuff is. You can config all the buttons, even if you use like a Super Nintendo controller, that kind of thing. But I do see like the using like Japanese cartridges, putting the English translation on them, saving some money, that kind of thing, until either you get the original cartridge in English, you get it converted, whatever. But I mean, you can play that stuff anywhere. But it's still an interesting thing for collectors to buy games, for people who just want to, mess around with the device. I don't know. It's interesting. I won't be using it quite often. I did recently just get this again because I was like, you know what? The RetroN 5, man, has shit changed with this? This is the thing that kind of got me back into gaming. And then I soon realized, like, this is not really for me. I want to use original controllers, and the controller that comes with this is garbage. So I'm going to have to buy original controllers anyway. Why don't I just buy the original hardware? And the rest is history. So thanks, Hyperkin, for making a product that was kind of half-assed, stole some emulators, and got me back into retro gaming 5-6 years ago for maybe the second or third time. I don't know. Been a few times that I got back into it. Man, this controller is horrible. But there you go. Just a little retrospective on the RetroN 5. I do want to show real quick. You know what? Let's pop this bitch out. Oh no, we removed the cart. I want to show you this Game Boy Advance game not working properly. That game works fine. It works fine on everything. Come on. Get in there, recognize. I'd probably crash the system right now. Get out of the way, Michael. Okay, finally it wants to load. But here we go, smashing drive. Oh, it's still crashed from the last time I loaded it up. Oh my god. It like plays for like a few seconds and then the damn thing crashes. And it seems like a lot of the 3D Game Boy Advance games do that. Whatever emulator they're using just isn't capable enough to handle this game. There's some screen tearing and stuff too. It's just it's bad, man. I'd rather use the Game Boy player with the Game Boy interface, or possibly, Game Boy consolizer type thing, or who knows, when the Analog Pocket comes out. I'm really looking forward to that. Those bastards need to hurry up, put that up for pre-order, because I want one. I want one now. That device is going to be awesome. I hope, anyway. At least from what they've been showing, it looks pretty sweet. But here we go. This game's going to crash at any minute now. Oh, snap. Do you hear? Listen to that. Music to my motherfucking ears, right? So there you go. Hit and miss with Game Boy Advance on this thing. It's a neat device. Is it for everyone? No, it wasn't for everyone when it first came out either. I think it's kind of cool, but there's just so many other options out there. A lot of people don't even give a crap about cartridges anymore. They just want to relive the past of their gaming years, and they can do that on numerous devices. So, hey, it is what it is. Really do appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And with that said, I will catch you guys next time. Peace out. Bye-bye. And boom. Bye.